Well, hello again from beautiful Bend, Oregon. I'm Travis with Coyote Moon, here to share some information about using color palettes, fonts, and the site styles on a Squarespace website. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So, we're looking at the back end of a Squarespace 7.1 website using the latest drag and drop editor called Fluid Engine. And I wanted to really take a deep dive tutorial into using site styles. And site styles in Squarespace speak just essentially means what is the color palette? What are the color fonts? What are the background colors? And how to adjust the sizes of your button blocks, add color, add animations. So we're going to jump in and really pick apart each of those so that you feel confident building your Squarespace website and styling it the way that you envision. So to do that, we're going to jump into the Design tab from the home menu and then click Site Styles. From here, we have an option of fonts, colors, animation, spacing, buttons, and image blocks. So let's take it step by step. When we click into the fonts section, we are met with, at the top here, our primary font pack. And so I've chosen Shackleton as my H1 through H4 heading font style. And we can switch that font pack however we see fit by clicking here. When we click that switch button, what we're met with is a sans serif, serif, and mixed font and typography options. So these are customized fonts that Squarespace designers have curated, fonts that really mesh well and match well with one another. So sans serif basically means without legs, and that's sort of more modern. Serif means with legs. That's why you'll see these little sort of feet, as they call them, on the bottom of the font. And serif is good for if you're an author, if you're a nonprofit. Serif's just a more modern. So sans serif is typically what I focus on. You can also choose mixed, and mixed is just going to be, in this case, it's going to be a serif heading with a sans serif body text. And you can scroll through a ton of really cool different options for the Squarespace Designer curated fonts. So for example, if we choose this Pragmatica Extended, we can see automatically it switches my web design to the Pragmatica Extended Sans Serif font pack. Okay, so going back to the font styles, the base size, this is going to be the base size for your body text. My base size is 16px. So if I wanted to increase that or decrease that, I can do that here with that toggle. Okay, so now heading down to the global text styles. So what global text styles means is that these text settings, headings, paragraphs, buttons, and miscellaneous, are going to apply to all of the different screen sizes and variations on your Squarespace website. So whether a person is coming through desktop, through tablet, or through mobile, those global text settings will carry throughout. Now, if we click into the heading section, we can choose the font family for our headings. So we have chosen Shackleton, again, as the H1 through H4, but if we click into Browse All Fonts, we are met with this amazing different selection. And it can be overwhelming, if I'm being honest, but this amazing different selection of hundreds, potentially thousands of different font choices pulled directly from Google. So you really have a ton of different options here. I think one of the biggest things when you're trying to select a font is to really dive deep into your audience, dive deep into your brand and your mission to decide what fits best. Is it a more bold font? Is it something that's a little more slim? Is it more modern? Is it impactful? Is it bold? So a lot of considerations there on the font. And there's a bunch of different tools you can use for that as well. I think Adobe Fonts actually has a way for you to type in whatever heading and body text you are going to put on your website so that you can see it, how that appears in real time before adding that to your website. So that's how you choose a heading. So we've chosen the font family as Shackleton, the weight, and the weight is just how wide or skinny the lettering is within the heading. So I've chose a weight of 400. This specific font family, Shackleton, doesn't allow for changing the weight, but a lot of them do, anywhere from 300 all the way up to 800 or 900 font weight. So it's just going to either be on the low end, when you choose a weight of 300, it's going to be a little skinnier. On the high end, 800 or 900 is just going to be a bolder, fatter font. The style selection here, you can either choose normal or italic. Pretty straightforward there. Line height is going to adjust the height of the letter itself. Essentially the spacing between the words as they lay out in a paragraph and break up on different lines. Letter spacing, if you want to widen or decrease the spacing, do that here. And I keep clicking exit here so that I don't affect my live site. Text transformation. This allows you to set uppercase, lowercase, or none, which is my selection. This is a really cool feature. The size section, H1 through H4, allows you to set the size relative to the base size. So that's what rem means. So 4 is relative to the base size of 16px. So heading 1's 4, heading 2 is 3.5, which would be this. Heading 3 is 3.5, or sorry, heading 3 is 2.5, and heading 4 is 1.5. So that's going to be global across your entire website. Your H1 through H4 sizes here are going to be across all different devices. Okay, paragraphs. This holds true as well. So the paragraphs is essentially just your body text here. I don't need to go through the whole rigmarole there. It's the same settings that I just described for headings also apply to paragraphs. Buttons, that's what you see here in the main navigation header section. And then throughout the website, you got the family of, obviously, you've got the weight. This will be a pretty cool tutorial, so I can show you the weight. So it's set currently as 500. Now let's see how it looks at 900. See how it really boldens that text? So that's a really cool customizable feature. Again, letter spacing, style, text transformation, all of that good stuff here. You can also set those for your primary button, your secondary, and your tertiary buttons. Okay, miscellaneous, that's going to apply to different miscellaneous aspects of your website, and you can set those accordingly as well. Now, if you want to assign styles to specific areas of your site, so mobile site title versus the site title, site navigation versus the header button, these are all customizable here within the Assign Styles settings. Awesome. So hopefully you guys are getting a good grasp of using fonts with Squarespace. Another call out is that Squarespace also allows you to upload your own custom fonts using CSS. Now, this does require a bit of coding knowledge, which typically you can find online. If you search for CSS code for fonts, typically there's going to be a bunch of different articles, blog pages, even YouTube videos that you can find on that. There's also a ton of really great Squarespace designers that offer code snippets for sale, also for free. One of them is Ghost Plugins, another is Will Myers, and I'm probably forgetting a few of the other ones that I'm using, but shout out to both of them for offering both free resources, free code snippets, and also paid ones. If you're at the point in your Squarespace design where you're really hitting a wall and you feel like you need to up-level any aspect of the design or just chat about adding custom fonts, I think they're great resources for that. Okay, moving on. So the next section we're going to look at here is colors. Now, let's pop into colors. So what do colors mean in Squarespace speak? Recently, within, I think, the last 3 years, Squarespace came out with Fluid Engine, which is the brand new drag and drop editor. With 7.1, which is the latest version of Squarespace, came what is called color palettes. And color palettes, as the name indicates, allows you to select multiple different colors to implement throughout your website. So you can either choose from a base starting point, just like the fonts, of curated colors created and added to every Squarespace website from our designers called color palettes, or you can select your own color palette. Now, I use a third-party tool called Coolors, COOLORS.com. And this allows you to basically plug and play different color combinations, different shades, different contrasts to really find the perfect color for the palette of your website. You can use other color palette generators. I know that there's several. Just type into Google a color palette generator for websites and you'll see what I mean. Coolors probably comes up in the top 3 results. Highly recommend it. So let's take a look. I've chosen this sort of orange to match the color of my logo here. I've chosen a white to really pop against this vanilla background. The vanilla is actually the background main color throughout the website. That's broken up by this blue, and then I have black for that font to pop out against that vanilla background color. So if we click into Edit Palette, we are actually able to customize each and every one of these palette colors, 1 through 5. So we can adjust that using this slider. We can adjust that using a hex value, a red, green, blue value, or an HSL value, however you see fit. So that lets you to set each individual color within your palette. And let's get down to this nice feature, which Squarespace has added, that are preset color palettes. These were created from Squarespace internal employees that function as designers. And it just allows you to quickly choose from multiple different curated palettes that are contrasting, monochromatic, etc. Another cool feature is you can upload your own image. If you click the From Image feature and you click Upload, you can add an image and the editor will actually pull different colors from that images and create a palette for you. Likewise, you can upload a specific color and Squarespace editor will generate a palette based on that color. So some really awesome starting points for the do-it-yourself user on Squarespace or the existing Squarespace customer that has a 7.1 website that is looking to update the design color palette of the website. A ton of really cool features. Again, I use Coolors as well to kind of set my baseline and foundation for what I add to the color palette section here on my website. Okay, so the other cool part about this is you can customize the theme of any given page. So any given section, excuse me. So for example, I've selected the Bright 2. If you click the editor, you can customize each and every aspect and element of the Bright 2 theme. So on and so forth, that goes from the lightest to bright to darkest. So really, you have around 10 different options here within your color themes to really dial in how each of these sections, and we're looking at a section here as Bright 2, we're looking at a section here as Dark 1, we're looking at a section here again as Bright 2, so on and so forth. You can really customize that theme and have, for example, a different heading font color for Bright 2 versus Dark 1. Obviously, this color as a font heading color for Dark 1 would not look well on Bright 2's section. We wouldn't want a white on a vanilla. That would be not enough contrast, and ultimately that's not a good accessibility experience for your site visitors. Okay, if you guys have any questions about colors, about fonts, about custom fonts, about adding CSS, about really up-leveling the design of your website, I would love to chat. I am a resource. I worked at Squarespace for 7.5 years in multiple different roles. I've built dozens of websites. I've managed clients from the small business all the way to the Fortune 50, e-commerce merchants, and everything in between. So I've got a ton of Squarespace knowledge. I am a resource. I am available to chat, free consultations, site audits, anything you need. Would love to chat. My name is Travis, and my business is coyotemooncreative.com. I can be reached at travis@coyotemooncreative.com. Okay, so let's take a look here. Again at the site styles. So we're doing a deep dive of site styles. So buckle up. We're only about a third of the way through here. So the next section we want to focus here on is animations, and animations are awesome. Historically in web design, you used to have to custom code in animations. And now with the drag and drop editor Fluid Engine, animations are built into different sections on your Squarespace website and or applied globally to every single page on your website. So when we go into the animation section here within site styles, this is going to be applied globally. And what that means is every single page on your website is going to apply these animations. So for example, if you choose a fade animation, whenever somebody loads a new page on your website, whether it's the home page or clicking through an internal page, they are going to see that animation appear. If you don't want that animation to appear on every page of your website by default, you can select per page, per item animations, which I'll show in another video. But for the purpose of this, animations apply globally. Every single page internally is going to showcase these. So currently we have the animations set at scale, and you can kind of see what scale looks like as I scroll through the page, right? It's sort of popping out and scaling out each element of the web page. So as you scroll, it will scale the image, it will scale these different testimonials from my clients over the years, and so on and so forth. Fade, just a little different variation of scale. Slide is going to slide up different elements. So as you scroll down the page, you will see that these images, these text blocks, these button blocks are sliding up into the screen. So it's a visual element. It's a way to add more engagement to your page. It's a very modern web design technique, and it's baked into every single one of your Squarespace websites. Anybody that starts a trial, you have all of the access to these animations. It's incredible. Squarespace has done such a good job of really democratizing web design for the do-it-yourself user and the web designer like myself. So let's continue. Take a look at the clip. So that's going to be side to side versus scaling up. And the flex, which is going to be a variation of the clip and is going to sort of just flex from bottom to top. Now, you can set the flex as slow, medium, or fast. Any questions on this? Again, I can be reached at travis@coyotemooncreative.com. Okay, so that pretty much sums up the animation section. Again, I'm clicking exit, so none of these changes are saved to my live site. Okay, let's take a look at spacing. So spacing, page width max, that's just going to adjust the total width of the screen. I typically set it at 3000 because I want to be able to work on my website on all the different page width sizes, but you can adjust that accordingly. Here, site margin, basically that's your guardrails, right? So if you think of your site margin, as we look at our Squarespace website, we can see that one second. We can see that there is a margin. This is your margin. The edge of your screen is the edge of this button, and the edge of my logo are my margins, right, for my website. So setting that margin would either extend the width or decrease the width. And I'll show you how that looks. So let's decrease the margin. And what that does is it is pressing the outer edges of both my logo image and my header nav button to the very extreme edges of my page, as well as every other element as I scroll down. Everything that's left justified to the edge of this drag and drop editor, this grid editor, is pushed to the limits when you decrease the site margin. Now, when you increase it, you'll see it has the opposite effect. Increasing your site margin is going to create a thinner content area, a thinner container that you can display text, display images, video on any given page. Awesome. Pretty straightforward there on page width and site margin. Now let's hop into buttons. Buttons allow you to customize the primary, secondary, and tertiary buttons on your website. It allows you to control the size and width of the button block itself. Now, currently we have the text set as obviously with a 500 weight. Now, just like your font options, here within the button section, you can set the style, the weight, the spacing, the width, and the text transformation of your button blocks. And you can toggle between primary, secondary, and tertiary. So for example, if you wanted to display primary buttons on your homepage, but let's say, for example, you wanted to display a different color button that potentially has a bolder CTA. Let's say, for example, on an e-commerce page, you want a big, bold, different colored button under your add to cart. This would be where you would potentially want to use primary on your homepage and secondary on internal pages. Now, when we go to the shape, we can either choose a fill, which is currently selected, or a no fill. And as you can see, the no fill just creates this nice sort of shadow. And you can set that as square, a little bit rounded, circle, true circle, underline, or this sort of flag look. You can also customize the corners. So for example, if you want, instead of a 10px on your rounded corners, you want 20 or 30. You can see that adjustment and that change there. Oh, that looks actually really cool. Man, I love all these options that Squarespace has. It just really opens your mind to the possibilities of good design. Okay, so currently we've set the shape as custom, but we want the fill. And we want this original. So click exit. Okay. And another cool feature is that I've selected a white border color for my buttons. And it kind of is a cool effect, I think, here in the header nav area. It creates this kind of glow. And then as you scroll down within the other sections of your site, it's got a nice little call out, and you can set the outline to a bolder pixel and a bigger pixel and a bolder size by using that slider. Same goes for the height and width. So really awesome features, again, that apply to primary, secondary, and tertiary buttons on your Squarespace website. Any questions about those? Another call out. Speaking of Will Myers, speaking of Ghost plugins, go check out Ghost plugins. Just type in Squarespace, customized Squarespace buttons, something to that effect in a Google search. You'll see a few different options for folks that are giving free CSS code snippets that essentially you just copy and paste into your CSS editors. So if you want to change the look and feel of the native button block functionality, say, for example, if you want a shadow behind it or you want a different hover effect, that can all be done with custom code. So go check that out. Okay. So that pretty much completes my tutorial here on site styles. Again, these are Squarespace 7.1 using the Fluid Engine editor, which is the grid-based drag and drop editor that you see here. The latest iteration of modern web design that Squarespace released a couple years ago. I am Travis Vance, and my business is Coyote Moon. I'm a Squarespace web design studio owner living in Bend, Oregon. I was a 7.5 year Squarespace employee. I have worked with businesses of all shapes and sizes, and I would love to help you take your website to the next level. So reach out. Don't hesitate. Travis at coyotemooncreative.com. Thanks so much.